Hello, welcome to ZIPS Nation Insider, powered by the Fear the Root Collective and Bryant Heating and Cooling. My name is Jacob Farrar, here with Grant Bogdan today. Grant, how you doing?
Doing good. Feeling pretty good after yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. A nice win by the Zips football team. An overtime, I'm going to say stunner. Like it was an overtime stunner. Like they have not, I think it was like
100%.
2011, the last time they beat Toledo in Akron.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a stunner in my book. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. And statistically, nothing really to write home about. Again, but they got the win, and so that proves that really at the end of the day, it's the final score. It doesn't matter how you got there, it's just what that final score is.
Right.
Anything that stands out to you in the game last night?
I mean, what a win. I mean, like you said, haven't beat Toledo since 2011, 2013, I think. So it's been 10 years, really needed to get a win over them, a team that's really been dominant in the conference, over the last really 5 to 10 years, Toledo. And what a way to finish the season for the Zips. I mean, you beat Kent, you beat your rival, and then you have Toledo at home to finish off the year. Go to overtime so you get some extra football, but what a game by them. I got off to a hot start with that 70-yard touchdown on the first play there to Amari and Granger, which was awesome. And then it kind of settled down there for a large portion of that game, being 7-0. And then the Zips got out to 14-0 before Toledo kind of made that comeback late in the game. But what a huge stop defensively, that 18-yard sack, to end the game there on Toledo's quarterback to end it. But no, really what a win for the team.
So I was looking up the last time they won four games. Now, granted, it's four games. Like let's be realistic. Four games was 2018 was the last time they won four games in a season. Also, I think that was the same year that they won two games in a row. Was 2018.
It's
So
the Terry Bowden era. So yeah, it's been a while, but
it's
much
been
needed definitely going into this offseason.
yeah. Matter of fact, that was the first time I really started paying attention when I was doing, stuff for athletics on the sideline. And so that I remember that season very well, but it was just cool. I will say that the thing that I thought was pretty cool at the end was there were some players that were a little emotional about it. Like those that their last game and to win in such a manner that that it happened in overtime. There were a few players that were a little bit, just kind of overcome with the situation. I thought that was pretty cool. And then, my goodness, there was a lot of celebrating, a lot of people happy with what happened. It was just such a cool experience. Good for them. Next game. Do you know their next game? The next game. We'll talk a little bit about this in our look ahead. But do you know the next game for the Zips football team? At
Next
home
season, I think we have
at home against Wyoming
Wyoming.
on August 30th.
Yeah,
So that's the next. So we
that'll be a
have,
good one.
what, 9 months, almost 9 months to wait. And we'll talk a little bit more about, things looking forward to next season and some question marks. But yeah, so I guess do we start the clock now officially with with looking forward to I guess we have the spring game coming up, but for the most part, that's the next time. So Wyoming at home on again, what did I say? August 30th.
Definitely one
Home.
to circle on the calendar.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the thing that I took away was so you have an overtime win for football, then unfortunately an overtime loss for soccer. So the overtime gods were not, they wanted to make sure that we were split. So the Zip soccer team lost 2-1 in a golden goal in the 100th minute. Again, not the ideal way to end a season, but overtime, someone's going to have to win. Didn't get to penalties. Indiana was a pretty good team. It's interesting. Dyson Clapier had his fifth goal of the season, but was then knocked out. Like he was out injured. Same with Mitch Butler. So both your some of your top two players are gone. Who knows how that outcome would have been if Mitch was in goal. But yeah, that's how the season ends for soccer.
Not great when the guy who's scoring the goals for you on the day is gets taken out due to injury, and then Mitch was having a solid game too, and I think they said he dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
shoulder
not
injury.
what you want to see there. Hopefully he's doing well, but overall a good year for the Zips. They finished 12-5-4, 7-0-1 in just their second year in the Big East. So a lot to look forward to going into next year, and hopefully they can push farther in the Big East tournament and then NCAA tournament as well.
One thing to note that in those last two games, I was really surprised by this, and I was at the home game. No, actually, I missed the Princeton game, but it was one of those things where both the Princeton and the Indiana games, Jääskeläinen had no goals. He was shut
Yep,
out. Um,
which hasn't happened much this year, as we
no,
know.
no. He had 23 goals for the season, but blanked in the last two games. I mean, I'm gonna cut him some slack because he scored 23 goals this season. But you want your best player to shine, and I'm sure he's probably frustrated by what happened that he wasn't able to contribute. But you want your best player to shine when it counts the most in these elimination games. And in this case, my guess is double teamed. He was a target. They're both Indiana and Princeton probably said, let someone else do the job. We're going to do what we can to stop him, and hopefully someone would step up. And in the Princeton game, yes. And then again, I guess they did score a goal. Dyson did have that score in the Indiana game, but ultimately, season's over. Also learned that the power of the gummy nerds gummy clusters and first watch wasn't a match for whatever the juju that Indiana was doing for on their side. But
Maybe you should have kept it a secret to us on the podcast.
I mean, they did win Princeton, so I mean,
That is true. So didn't fail
so
right away.
yeah. But again, to your point, Grant, I mean, it was a great season for the team. I think it was one that you saw that tail, almost the tale of two seasons from the beginning to once they started Big East play. Um, I have definitely some thoughts for what looking ahead for next season. We'll get to here in a minute, but yeah, that was interesting. All right, basketball. We had a lot of basketball over the weekend here. Probably the most I've seen. 3 games in 3 days. My
Been a
goodness.
busy weekend, that's for
Yeah, and you
sure.
were and you were at all of them, right? You were at every single
I
one.
didn't I didn't go to Sunday,
Didn't go to
but I was
Sunday.
at the Friday and Saturday game.
Same here. Same here. So they went 3-0, hosting the Akron Basketball Classic. Now they're 4-2 on the season. I guess the thing from Sunday, they were 3 points short of the century mark, beating Alabama State 97-78. I mean, these were games. I guess Friday was probably the closest against Lamar, but the other two were basically blowouts. We like to see that. For me, I don't know. My takeaway was just fun to watch these new players. This is the first time I've seen them live. I've seen some on TV, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was the first time seeing our new team, new squad. I mean, at one point, I was with my son on Saturday. I leaned over and like 4 out of the 5 players were not on the team last year that were on the court.
It's taken me some time just to kind of start recognizing faces and put names to faces, but definitely cool seeing these guys kind of gel together. And this is just the start. Haven't even gotten to conference play yet. Have a few games left this year. But the 3 game tournament's kind of exactly what we wanted to see. Just get the 3 wins. Obviously, that first game, I think we had the biggest chance of losing just because it's the first game.
Yeah.
I think we started a little slow, but by the end of the tournament, I think they found their groove and were able to get 3 wins on the weekend.
In addition, Nate Johnson was named MAC Player of the Week. That was kind of cool. Averaged over 17 points for the weekend, and then on Sunday had a career high of 25 against that Alabama State team. Again, just kind of seeing these people step up. You had a lot of star players that left last year, and so someone's got to fill that void. And why not Nate Johnson? He played a bunch last season, and it's interesting. I didn't see him as a 3-point threat last year. I mean, he was really
Yeah.
inside. He's built to play inside, but my goodness, I love seeing him 3-point. He actually is first in the MAC with 3-pointers made.
Wow. I did
So
not know that.
yeah, like where'd he come through as a as a 3-point shooter? So you get that size and developing an outside shot. I mean, that's a recipe for some success after in the NBA, hopefully or professionally, so to speak. Hopefully in the NBA, but yeah, I know my takeaway was again just big thing was just watching these new players and how they gel. I'm sure that's what Coach Gross is trying to do is just kind of figure out how they all play together. But um, they got a couple more games next week here in Akron. They play Northern Kentucky on Tuesday in the Jar, and then the weekend they host SUNY Brockport. So, and then they have just a few more games, and then January we jump right out. January 7th, first home MAC. So we're not missing a beat with basketball.
January 3rd. January 3rd, we got Bowling Green. I
Oh,
have
that's on the
down.
road, right? I think that one's on the road. I think the first
Is it?
home game. You may be right. I thought that seventh. If someone wants to
Yeah,
fact
fact
check on
check
our
us there.
podcast. I know
Either
for
way,
sure they have a home game against Central Michigan here on the 7th. They may start off the season here as well, but we'll see. As far as other teams or any other thoughts on basketball before we jump to our men's basketball before to jump to
I,
women's
I
basketball.
had very similar takeaways. Obviously, a lot to look forward to with conference play starting here January. But the talent is there. Like you said, we had a lot of guys to replace, including a draft pick, and then three or four other people in our starting lineup. So good to see that they were able to reload with different recruits and transfers. And I think now, to your point, it's really just letting these guys kind of gel. And once we start facing that deeper competition within the conference, I think we'll really be able to see how far this team's going to be able to go come MAC tournament time.
Sure, sure. Yeah, it's there's still so much basketball to play. All right, so women's basketball, they unfortunately lost two over the weekend, almost identical scores to Tennessee State and then Bellarmine. Again, both those games were on the road as the men's team were hosting the Akron Basketball Classic. They play in the Colgate tournament this week, I think Friday and Saturday, and then
Yep.
back home for a couple against Slippery Rock. Really just again this idea of still a long season, really nothing to jump out yet. Alexis Mobley is 14th in the MAC in scoring, averaging 12 points a game. But again, there's still so much more to be done.
Yeah.
Again, I think the team is fun to watch, but there's still waiting, things to be seen as far as the women's basketball team. Again, like I said, they play Slippery Brock. Next game here in Akron is on the 4th.
They
All
got
right.
the Michigan Wolverines are coming to
Yeah,
campus
in December
on December.
20th, Michigan
Yeah.
Wolverines. Now that's a noon, I think it's Education Day, if I'm not mistaken. It's a
Is
noon
it?
start. Yeah, it's a noon start. They've done this before against Michigan. I don't know what the connection is, but this isn't the first time they've had an early start against Michigan. But yeah, Michigan's coming in on the 20th. That'll be interesting. It's a weekday, so I think they do it like an education where they bring in kids from schools. So that'll be a
Awesome.
fun game. I know they've done this before. But yeah, it's cool to see I guess the team from up north, as people like to say here in Ohio.
Right. Come
To
visit us
come
in Akron.
Exactly, exactly. All right, we teased this a little bit. Let's talk about looking ahead. We want to take both soccer and football. What we think. Again, I don't know. I'm not an expert. There's probably those that have stronger thoughts than I do about what I'm looking for. Let's start with soccer. My first takeaway was like, who is going to replace the
It's
scoring?
exactly what I've written down.
I mean,
How do
so
you replace the nation's leading scorer?
so it's even a little bit more drastic than that. So he had 23 goals this season. The next most was Dyson with 5, and Victor Galmin had 5. Both of those, all three of those, they're leaving. They're done. So here's a count for 33 goals. I mean that's a huge 33 goals. I don't even know what the goal total for the year was, but that's a big chunk that you're gonna have to find.
It almost feels comparable to basketball last season with how much talent they're losing and how much of
Yeah.
their production they're losing. But Coach Embeck's done a great job with a pipeline from recruits around the area and then also internationally getting students. So that'll be cool to watch to see who he can pull from around the country and around the world. But definitely have a lot to replace with those guys leaving. And like I said, hopefully next year they can make a deeper push into the conference tournament. Obviously, Big East regular season champs this year, but obviously would like to make a push to get that tournament title and then go even deeper in the NCAA.
So it's interesting though that they had two players that were all Big East offense and Big East defense that came from the portal last year. So like there is a precedent for finding this talent coming from the portal and making an impact in a year. So like it's there, like there's an opportunity. I mean, I really think again, there's probably some great players that are being developed, but I don't know just how you replace 33 goals. And then Juan Kamal, he's a senior, so I don't know if he's coming back or not. And he had the next with 4. So in theory, you could have almost 40 goals, gone. And so there's definitely an opportunity for some folks to step up or to find some players. But as we listened to on the podcast last week with Coach Embick, who is the head coach of the soccer team, Grant, the soccer team, not the basketball
Yeah, there
team.
you go. For those that
Um,
caught it.
yeah, as a soccer, he talked about just that what that portal process looks like, and getting referrals from former players and coaches that they're connected with. So I mean, the potential's there. And then the other thing is again, I don't know. Mitch Butler had a fantastic season. Is he going to get lured away? Like, does he, this, I guess this whole idea of NIL and the portal, I mean, someone as good as him, who is the Big East goalie of the year, do we run the risk of, it's just now it's part of, it's, hey, if we're expecting to get players, we should also expect to lose players. And so, that's just something that I put as kind of my third, looking ahead is what's going to happen with him. I know he talked a lot about the academic side of his, being a student athlete and that he likes the program here. Is is what he's doing over in the College of Business enough to keep him, in goal for the Zips? That was something I was thinking about again in this new era of collegiate athletics. So
Next to a mill, I mean, I can't think of a more important piece to try to replace than the goalkeeper. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
especially down the stretches, second half of the year, he's been great. I mean, we've had a few shutouts, and then just a lot of low scoring games. So credit to him, and hopefully the Zips can have him back for another year. Be ideal.
exactly. All right, and then my last thing is just will the team need a new team ritual for wins moving forward to next year? I don't know. I
Might
don't
have to.
I don't want to speculate on that. That's for them to figure out. All right, looking ahead for Zips football, I think it's a familiar tune, right? What does the transfer portal look like for the Zips? We were able to you know, just they were able to get some impact players with just 2 wins last year. Like, and now we've doubled the wins. Like, does that mean that we'll be able to get better play? Like, who knows what that means? But definitely think, again, the transfer portal enters. It allows you to find these players that can make an impact. Obviously with Ben Finley last year or this year, I guess, with someone that came off the transfer portal. So, but what's interesting though, and this is kind of so that's my first takeaway was, what does the transfer portal look like for the Zips? But the second is if you think about our skill positions, so running back, wide receiver, and quarterback in theory, all three of those skill positions, they're set to have returners. Like the people that made an impact, they're all either underclass or will be a redshirt senior. So it's like I don't think we're gonna lose anyone, but again, you never know. And if you can pick up a stud, another running back or whatever, I feel like the pieces are there. I think a bigger, I mean, if this is always with Akron is offensive line, defensive line. It starts in the trenches. And that's I think they're gonna miss probably the biggest is some of those the folks up front, so to speak, the guys up front. So
100%. I think with the portal, with the team doing better this year, in theory, you'd hope there's more people coming in to the program than now leaving,
yeah,
which is what we're going to look for this year. And then, a step for Ben Finley. Can he take another step forward going into this
yeah,
next year after
yeah.
having a good first year at Akron? And I think that does start with the offensive line. Keeping him protected, keeping him healthy throughout the year, so he's not taking as many hits. But I think we should set the bar for a bowl game this next year. We doubled our win total this past year.
Yeah.
We have 4 wins this year. I see no reason why we can't, get to 6 and go to a bowl.
Well, what's interesting, that kind of leads me to my next item was, Akron's getting a new athletic director next year, right? And so with that new athletic director, and we already know the schedule, so we talked about Wyoming, but they host Wyoming. Again, they're Power Four, but is Wyoming where are they at? Kind of, are they equal to what Akron is? I don't know. But they're at Nebraska, at UAB, the University of Alabama Birmingham. Is that a win? I mean, Nebraska, that's going to be tough, right? Let's be real
Nebraska's
about that.
tough. UAB, I think could definitely be a win there.
And then they host Duquesne on the 20th of September. So, I mean, in theory, instead of going what 1-3 those first
Yeah,
4 games, maybe they get 2-2, and again, who knows what Kent State's going to be like next year? There could be. I mean, they had a few games this season where within at least 10 or a score or 10 points. So, I mean, a bowl game wasn't out of the realm of possibility this season. I agree with you. Like bowl game, especially if you're not scheduling as many of these Power Four, kind of payday games.
SEC, yeah.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. We're bowl game or bust. Like let's do that. Let's make that our motto for next year. So, any other
Let's do it.
thoughts on football moving forward for next season?
Yeah, I mean, I keep the momentum. I mean, you beat your rival and you get a big win against one of the best teams in the conference. I think this is the off season where you really gotta capitalize on that and put the work in to get to that 6 win mark and get to that bowl game. So lots to look forward to. Wyoming next year, like you said, and we'll see what happens in conference play.
All right. Well, we do have a guest. So, in the spirit of Thanksgiving and holidays and family coming into town, you're down in Columbus. I'm here in Wadsworth, Akron area. But I thought I'd reach out to a family member, right? A former Zip. So let's bring him on right now. I'm excited about this one. Hopefully, this all works. The technology. Let's bring him in. Josh, are you there? Josh Ward. Oh my
Hello,
goodness.
how
What
are
is
you
up,
doing?
buddy?
How are
Not
you?
much. How are you doing?
Look at you with your throwback zips Z. That's
Hey,
awesome. That's
you know,
awesome.
got to stay
So
true.
so
There you
so
go.
Josh, I am so excited to see you. I mean, I've known you for a while. One of my favorite former Zips. I was saying just before you come on, like, when you have these holidays, it's great to have family. You get to see family that you haven't seen in a while, get to catch up. So when I was thinking about what we're going to do for this episode, I thought, you know what? Let's bring a family member back. And Josh Ward. Now, Grant, Josh predates your arrival in Akron. Okay, so
100%.
so you guys are meeting for the first time, but Josh is one of my favorites. Now I have two, these are my two memories of Josh before we get into some questions about his time here in Akron. So these are my first two memories. First game, I don't know if he remembers this. This is the 2018 season. Oh man, I should remember who we played, but we get a win. Akron gets a win. And the tradition when getting a win, it used to be for every game, but now it's been just if you get a win, you go and do the alma mater with the band. So Josh jumps up into the band. He jumps up. So he's not just one to stay down where the players. He gets up and he starts directing. Do you remember this? You start
I
direct.
do.
By the way, I don't think you were directing really that well. I'm just going to be honest with you. But that's my first memory. That's my first memory. This is the first time I see the number 8 getting up there, jumping up and directing, conducting the band. And then the second, this is his last game as a Zip. My son was on the field. My son was on the field with my son Colin, who was like 6 or 7 at the time. And I said, "Hey Josh, can I get a picture with my son Colin?" And Josh just picks him up. He's holding him just above his head, and I have both of those pictures. I have a picture of you conducting and a picture of you holding my son Colin above. And when I told him that we were going to have you on the show, he's like, "Oh, I remember him." So those are my two memories, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for running me down memory lane. I remember both of those memories very well. So
Cool,
thank you for
cool,
reminding me of that. Yes, sir.
cool, cool. So where are you at, man? Are you in South Florida? Are you still in South Florida?
Yes, I'm still in South Florida. Not too far from when we played in the Boca Bowl,
Okay,
actually. So yeah,
okay.
or where we were, I guess where we stayed in the hotel at the Boca Bowl.
Okay, so Boca Bowl, the last time, that's one of your accolades, is the last time you're on that team, 2017 team played in the Boca Bowl. I don't even remember who you guys played. Do you remember the game? Who'd you guys
Yeah,
play?
very vividly. We played FAU, and I played one of my former teammates from Heritage, Devin Singletary, who's playing for the Giants right now, and Lane Kiffin was the coach.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah. That's right. Before he was at Ole Miss, he was at FAU. So, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well, my goodness. Yeah, that's definitely a bowl game to remember. So that was 2017, the last time the Zips were in a bowl game. So let's talk a little bit about, obviously you're from South Florida, Delray Beach. You mentioned American Heritage High School. How did you get recruited to come play in Akron? And what was that I thought of you going from sunny Florida to Northeast Ohio? Talk about that process of getting recruited to come play in Akron.
So it was a unique process. It was, I guess to give you a little bit of background, I was first recruited by Buffalo. Don't
Okay.
tell anybody that. But I was first recruited by Buffalo, and long story short, it didn't really work out in the end. There was a lot of things, but I understand that that's part of college football now. So that's just water under the bridge. But luckily, while I was looking for another place to land, Akron called while I was in between a few offers. And Coach Mounds, a couple of the staff members, were getting with us, and sorry, um, so a couple of the staff members called me. They wanted me to come up. I came up for one of the I wanted to say it was like a homecoming game, not a homecoming game, but the spring game, I should
Okay.
say.
Okay.
So I came up for the spring game, saw the intensity, saw the beautiful campus, got to see Ohio in the spring, and I was like, I'm sold. I'm ready to come. So I got to come up in the summertime, got to, meet the team. It was a wonderful experience, but it was it was kind of sudden, but I never expected that that would have been my experience looking
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. So you talked about coming and seeing the facility. So probably that stadium, seeing that stadium, that that nice stadium and spring game, and I'm glad they brought you up when the weather was nice during the spring, maybe versus, some of these November
Definitely.
Tuesday night Maction games where, it snows or whatever. But it's interesting, Grant. At the time, there was a number of South Florida players. Like Josh wasn't the only one. Like Coach
No,
Bowden did a really good recruiting job down in South Florida. There's a number of you guys on those squads when you came in that really made an impact. That 2018 2019 season was made up of a bunch of Florida guys. My goodness, both
wasn't
offense
very
Really,
long.
and
yeah,
defense, but a lot on the offense.
for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And I remember that. I remember we had a lot of. I remember from previous zips, you had Jatavius Brown, you had Ulysses Gilbert, Cato, Alvin. You had a couple more. I want to say Van. There was just countless,
Yeah.
countless that
And
were on
and
that team.
and Gilbert played for the Steelers. He was on the Steelers for a while. I
Played
don't
with
know
the
if he's
Buccaneers for a while.
Buccaneers. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So we talked a little bit about some memories, but what's your favorite memory of being a Zip? Like when you think about your time here in Akron on campus, what's your favorite memory? Do you, I mean, I'm sure you have more than one, but
I have more than one. I there's I can always go back and say that winning the Potato Bowl was one of my favorite memories. It was very unique, but to keep it a little bit closer to home, there was one time where a bunch of football players, like we were in the middle of summer training, and everybody was like, "Hey, let's go get bikes." So there was a bunch of bikes
like
around
bikes, like
campus,
riding around.
just just little bikes, and we looked like it was like an '80s movie. So we hopped on these bikes, and we were almost like a biker gang for a day. Like we went all over campus with these bikes. I don't know where the bikes came from. Still to this day, I don't know what happened to the bikes.
I
We just
guess that
all
that was before they have these little orange scooters now on campus. So that was before the scooters. And there were some big guys. So I'm assuming those bikes were probably little compared
they
to.
were durable. They were durable bikes, but because they took us everywhere. Like we were all over the campus, we were all over the city. Like
Oh
I
my
still don't
goodness.
know how that happened or how they had enough for 20 kids to grab bikes all over.
Maybe they were some of those LeBron James Family Foundation bikes because he used to give away bikes here in Akron or something. I don't know.
It probably was. It was something unique, but no, that was one of my favorite days, just simply because it was like I got to hang out with my brothers, and it was just kind of like a unique thing. Nothing like you don't really hear about that from time to time, and it was just one of those experiences. We all took pictures. It's something that we'll never forget.
That's cool. That's cool. Hey, we have
Awesome.
Josh Ward with us here on Zips Nation Insider. Normally we do the guest in the suite, but we're technically virtual, so still sponsored and courtesy of Tire Source, the official sponsor of the Turnover Tire. So, Josh, have you seen that Turnover Tire in action? Where I think it's a great promo. Where if you get a turnover, you get to wear the Tire Source tire. We had almost two last night. We had one for sure, and then one that got called back. But yeah, the Tire Source sponsor of the Turnover Tire. So Josh, what are you doing now? Like, what's your life after football? I'm sure you probably had dreams of making it the NFL, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So what are you up to now? What do you do now?
So for sure, I was one of those COVID kids that graduated in 2019 and just before it's December 2019.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a lot of work to be done. I came home, everything was new. I started training for a little bit and then all that got taken away. So I just hit the work, the work world, I should say, or the market pretty hard. And I ended up finding this wonderful job with a company called South Coast Improvement Company, and they are based out of Massachusetts, wonderful company in general contracting, and they allowed me to come on as a business development manager.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm in the South Florida. I'm in the Florida region. Going to events, meeting new people, figuring out how we can raise new buildings all over the state.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome.
So, you when you're here, you were a sales management major, right? You studied sales.
Yes,
So,
sir.
question: how is I'm a big, as you know, I mean, actually, you're in my class. I was hoping to say that when you're in my class when I was in the College of Business was one of your favorite memories, Josh. I'm a little disappointed that that wasn't on your list, but
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. That's okay. How is, just kind of this idea of being a student athlete kind of sets you up for success after you graduate? Do you think that was helping you or has helped you kind of as you kind of transition into the professional world?
It has immensely. I can't thank the university enough for putting me in a position to win. A lot of even far roles, every role that I've stepped into, because I was a student athlete, the tools that I was given by the university, by the sports that I played, by the people that were around me, were very unique. I worked on campus with Learfield and IMG
There we
with
go. I was
Dan
just going to
Purdy.
mention
Oh,
Grant. That's what you guys have in common. So Grant, so when he was a student, Grant, he worked for Dan, the past general
that's
manager
awesome.
of
Purdy,
Akron.
yes,
So yeah,
yes,
so you guys, so Grant, this particular podcast we work with, it's Learfield. It's a Learfield podcast. So definitely, it's almost like a little homecoming then. But
it
yeah,
is.
that's right,
That's
Josh.
awesome.
You worked with the Learfield team on campus.
Yes, I did. Aaron and Dan, they were very wonderful. In fact, when I was kind of looking to see, like, I wanted to do something more in sales, I gave a call to Dan, and that kind of just goes to show, like, how the deep connections that we have even years later. And he really guided me on, like, what should I do? How do I use my sales background? And then, thank God, I ended up being in a similar position that he's in as a business development manager. So that Learfield, like I said, the tools that the university gave me have just helped me out immensely over the years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So Grant, or so Josh, any tips for Grant? Now, Grant's been doing this role for like 3 years now, but you got to set up the setting up the displays there, the end zone or the what do you call those? The little triangles with the sponsor?
Yeah.
A-frames.
The A-frame. So
Yeah,
yeah, you
yes.
guys have there we go. There we go. Well, Josh, hey, this is so when we have any guests that we have, we do kind of two other segments. So one is what we call our hometown pizza. So in South Florida, if I was going to visit you in Delray Beach, where are we going to pizza in Delray Beach? Where is your favorite pizza place?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. I'm not really good with names. Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you. So on Delray Ave, if you go downtown Delray, there's a place called Pizza Rustica that makes one of the best pizza.
Pizza
I'm telling you,
Rustica in
Pizza
Delray
Rustica
Beach, right there on the
in Delray
avenue.
Beach.
Okay. So for
Yes,
those that are
Awesome.
watching and they're maybe heading down to Florida for the winter, Delray Beach, going to Pizza Rustica, that is Josh's recommendation.
you will
That's
not be
now what do
upset.
you
It's
get?
right on the
Josh, what do you
water.
get? What's your favorite pizza? What do you get?
So I kind of like the margarita pizzas.
Okay. Okay.
So they have like a wide variety of pizzas. Like they even have desserts. Like, I mean, every time I go in there, I kind of get something different. But I know the margarita pizzas, you know, you can't go wrong. There's a few others that I probably forgot to mention, but like I
That's all
said,
right.
when they see it, they'll understand.
That's right. Pizza Rustica is your hometown. All right, our next segment, and then we're gonna get you out on this. Well, by the way, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's just before the holidays, so you probably got a lot of obligations. So appreciate you jumping on Zips Nation Insider. We're here with Josh Ward. Josh, this is our rapid fire segment. It's sponsored by or powered by 330 to Go, which is Northeast Ohio's hottest and fastest growing news and entertainment media network. We are doing a Thanksgiving edition of the rapid fire segment. So I'm gonna ask just a few questions. First thing that pops into your head, okay? You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the Thanksgiving edition. First question, turkey or ham?
Turkey,
Turkey. Favorite side dish?
macaroni and cheese,
Macaroni and cheese. Pumpkin pie versus apple pie.
apple pie.
Apple pie, that's two in a row. Coach Embick was apple pie guy. All right.
Nice.
I think I know this one, this next one. Macy's Day Parade or watching football?
Oh, they have a lot of anime in the Macy's Day Parade, but I'm telling you, watching
Watching
football.
football. All right, Josh, thank you so much for being our guest today on Zips Nation Insider. We're excited for your success. Thank you so much for coming on. And now, Josh, you know what this means. You got to come up to Akron at some point, right? Like you got,
I,
we got. we got to see you on the sidelines. I'm sure Grant can get you a field pass, if not the team.
100%.
We can set up some A-frames for old time's sake. We can do some. You can help hand out some of the gift cards during the game. We can get you. We can get you your old Learfield day. So hey, thanks so much, and we'll be back next week. Hopefully from the suite. We'll see what happens. Enjoy your Thanksgiving holidays, guys, and go Zips.
Go Zips. Shout out to all the staff members that helped me out. Love you guys. Wonderful university. Thank you guys.
All right.